Beep beep, name of the game. How to layer bass lines properly. What's up guys, my name is Senworld and let's get straight into this tutorial. The first thing we gotta do is we gotta find our main bass. This is gonna be the bass that's gonna be on top that you're gonna be like, holy shit, that sounds fierce. So pretty much basses you're gonna look out for are gonna be something like this. Like that one. That. You know, you can hear the top end of it so really well. So the one we're gonna go with for this video, let's go with, I don't know, rubato cutoff. You know, this one sounds very weak and it definitely needs layers. So the first thing we want to do, guys, is we want to find our main sound. Sometimes our main sound is only going to require just a sub layer for it, or sometimes it might require another layer for a bass, but you want to keep it minimal. So no more than 2 or 3 layers for your bass lines, especially because bass lines are very sensitive. The reason for that is just because it's in the down, you know, the bass is going to mainly be very prominent in the lower octaves, lower parts of the frequency, where most producers, advanced and beginners and intermediates, have trouble. So we're gonna go with this one. My first step is I'm gonna duplicate it and I'm gonna make a dedicated sub or use a dedicated sub patch from your favorite one. The one I'm using is from the Shapov Soundbank that we released through Evolution of Sound. My favorite sub is the sub of the year for this one. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some MIDI in here just to kind of, you know, get this to sound like the way it should sound, so we kind of have like a good audio representation. So let's say that's the one we want to go with. You know, it's going from lower octave to higher octave. Of course, we don't want to set this all down to semitone because then the bottom one sounds really harsh. And then we don't want to do this because it loses its grooviness. So let's go back to the way we had it, which a lot of groove house tracks are going to do this, progressive house. So this is just layering bass lines properly. It's the same thing for progressive house and whatnot. The next thing we want is our sub. I use sub of the year as I stated, and now we're going to get the same MIDI for it. Now, if your bass line is going from octave to octave, for the sub, you want to keep your sub to be at the lowest possible because that's where the sub is going to be the strongest. The sweet spot is always the part where the last octave before you hear shit like that. The sweet spot's right here. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is go into silent 1 for the first one. We're going to get rid of anything like reverb and delay and whatnot. But EQ and distortion are perfectly fine. Now, once we have that, guys, we're going to have our rubato cutoff, which I think that's the name of the patch. We're going to get rid of the sub, the low end from it, because we already have a sub that's covering that frequency. There's no need for this sound to cover it. And you can see it already sounds a lot way better. Now we're going to go into sub of the year, get rid of the highs to the point where it's more dominant, aka in the low end. Now, since I have the sub separated away from my bass line, now I can do whatever the fuck I want to this bass without affecting the low end from the bass. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is maybe add a bit of saturation to it because it needs a lot more dirtiness to it. Saturation is pretty much going to be adding harmonics, aka boosting your sound at certain frequencies which are harmonic to what it's playing at, aka that's how saturation works. See, the next thing is the fabulous, the amazing, the newly discovered OTT. It's gonna give it more sharpness, more edginess. So you guys can see there. Now the next thing I want to do is maybe EQ a bit more, like add some high end to it. And pretty much that's gonna be it for this one. Now we're gonna see if we can layer this with anything else that will give it a bit more of it. Maybe this one will work. Now the first part of the bass, this one, you can see it's very thin and it covers the frequencies very well around this area here. So what I'm gonna do is get this and get rid of the frequencies I don't really need. Then I'm gonna get this sound, and this sound is gonna cover my upper frequencies. Now, the name of the game when you're trying to layer stuff properly is you want to give each sound a specific role. It's like this sound is going to cover the mids and this sound is going to cover the highs. Because a sound usually that you use, there's going to be a high percentage of sounds that you don't even need to layer because they're so perfectly made already. But then there's going to be sounds that you need to layer that are going to act as the backbone in order to push this sound to sound more stronger. It's like working together. That's what you want to do. You want to make room for everything. That's the name of the game here. And once you do, it will reward you with a good sounding, unique sound. Now here, I want to get rid of the OTT for this sound. I don't think it needs it. Now, I want this to be a lot more wider, so I'm going to turn this into mid-side EQ, which is a little bit more of an advanced version of the normal EQ that I guess you're used to. The reasoning for this is because mid-side gives you two options now to EQ in either the mid or the sides, and a lot of people get confused on which one to do first. Sides is going to be mainly higher sound, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to boost the higher side by maybe, let's say, 1.5 dB, and then I'm going to reduce in the mono signal by a bit, just kind of like, just a tiny bit to kind of add some separation to it. Alright, so let's see. There we go. We're going to the sides. Let's go into the sides there. That's on, that's on. It seems like there's no side information on this, so I'm going to make it on part A. There we go. Now we got it to the side. In the patch, I had it set to mono. We're going to apply an S1 to see if we can even salvage some side to this, because it definitely is going to need some side. Now, if I can't get the side from this patch, I'm going to have to get another patch that is more stereo width. Has stereo width. You can see it's not affecting it in any way here. So this sound is fully mono. I can't even like put the stereo up on it because it's not going to work just because the retrig is on. If I turn the retrigs off, we got our whiteness. So let's just do that. Now, we don't want to do it to the sides as much now because of the retrig is off. Now, I sort of want it that wide. That sounds perfect. Let's see how it sounds like. And you can see it just sounds so much better. The sound has a lot more depth to it. We have the mono signal, we have the white signal, we have the sub. Now the last thing to do is to compress the top layers together, which we are, and just compress them together, honestly, the bass. Don't put the sub in there, by the way, because that's going to be different. Now I'm going to put the saturator in here. Actually, you know what? Never mind. We're going to leave it the same because this one is saturating more in the center and this one's saturating more to the sides, aka the stereo one, which is going to give it that nice sound. Here we have the OTT and everything should be fine. One last thing I'm going to do is put glue compressor to kind of just glue it together. Not so much already because we have that OTT, which again, it's over the top compression, which is over compressing. And now we can add any effect we want, like reverb, delay, because now we have them together, and now it's gonna sound a lot more unified because they're gonna have the same delay, same reverb, same everything, guys. And now the last thing to add here, I'm gonna add this cheating master I always add just so you guys can hear it in its final deadly form, just like Frieza. And it's gonna sound fucking fat. So incoming loudness right now, hopefully doesn't mess up your ears. And that is how you layer bass lines properly. You can go different ways with this. Maybe you want your bass to be fully mono because you're making progressive house and whatnot, and you have so many more elements. But this way, the way I have it right now, you can add stereo to it because we have groove house drops where it's just the bass, it's just that, and it's gonna work wonders for you guys. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, hit a like, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial.